Good morning, dear students. You can see the screen, right? I have shared a Chrome tab. Hopefully, you can see the screen. So, we will today discuss this topic. This is about ordinal utility theory. We have done cardinal utility. In cardinal utility, the main concept was that the utility or the level of satisfaction for the consumer by the of the consumer sorry of the consumer by purchasing one extra unit of a commodity can be measured in numbers, and we saw how the equilibrium is achieved. We saw that extra unit, the extra price of the commodity that the consumer is ready to pay, that price has to be equal to the marginal utility. So that is how we had calculated marginal utility, and we also discussed that the marginal utility decreases. It goes on decreasing because the level of satisfaction that the consumer will have by buying the second unit of a product will be higher than the level of satisfaction you will have by buying more number of products, say 10th or 15th number of product. When he will buy the same product for every time he is buying the same product, then his level of satisfaction goes on decreasing. So these are the main concepts of cardinal utility theory of consumer behavior in economics. Today we will do a very interesting one. This is about the ordinal approach. Okay, this is ordinal approach towards measuring the utility of consumers in economics. This is called consumer behavior analytical theory. This is called ordinal utility approach. This is quite realistic. Okay, cardinal utility was basically theoretical, and later on they were discarded also by the economists. But this approach that we will discuss today is quite practical. It is quite realistic. Okay, here it has been said that although the utility cannot be measured in numerical values, yet there are some ways to, you know, compare, differentiate, then measure the utility. That can be done. It has been said something like that. Okay, so let us study in detail what is ordinal utility approach. This theory has been developed by Professor Hicks. Okay, modern economist. He is called a modern economist. Particularly Hicks. There were group of economists. Okay, who supported this theory, and mainly it was Hicks who gave the ordinal utility concept in order to analyze the consumer behavior. He has used a tool. Okay, he has not said directly that this price can be taken as a measure to analyze utility, but rather he has taken a tool which is called indifference curve for consumer behavior analysis. He has used a tool called indifference curve for consumer behavior analysis. Okay, so here the main focus of our discussion will be on understanding the indifference curve properly. Okay, it is a very interesting thing. Today we will learn that. So what is that? Let us see. But before discussing the indifference curve, obviously we'll have to go through the various assumptions of the ordinal utility approach. Just like I said during cardinal utility discussion also, all theories are based on some assumptions. So here also ordinal utility approach has got some assumptions. What are those? The very first assumption is about rationality. This was there in cardinal approach also. What does it imply? It implies that a consumer is a rational being and aims at maximizing the total satisfaction given the income and prices of goods and services. So it is quite natural that when the consumer will try to increase or enhance their level of satisfaction by buying a set of goods. He will obviously aim at maximizing that satisfaction within the constraint of his income, which is limited, and also the prices of goods and services he will consider, because he will compare, measure, analyze which one should be bought, which one has got the higher, which one will give him the highest level of satisfaction after consuming that everything he rationalizes, and then takes his decision of buying the product. Next is ordinal utility. This is the definition of the ordinal utility. What is there actually in the term ordinal? It assumes that utility is expressible only in ordinal terms. This implies that a consumer is only able to express his or her preference for goods. It says that this is very realistic. It says that now the utility level will not be expressed in numbers. Rather, it is assumed here that the consumer will be able to express his preference for the goods. That means you can say that you prefer SUV cars than the durable goods. You want to go for SUV cars and not the durable goods. This kind of preference can be given by you. Say you want to watch movies in the multiplexes and not in the ordinary cinema halls. So those kind of preferences you will be able to express. You can say that I prefer this product to that product. So I will not buy that product, I'll buy this product. This kind of expressions can come from you. Okay, so this is quite real, because we cannot say that I have 100 numbers of utility, or I have 15 points in utility when I consumed this product. How will you measure? How will you say? What sort of unit will you set? 50 unit you are saying, but what is it? Kg? Is it liter? What is it? You cannot say that. But obviously you can say that I prefer this product than that product, so I will buy this product. This you can say. So this is quite a qualitative phenomena. With the help of this concept, the indifference cards will be utilized, and then ordinal utility approach will be presented to you. Okay, so the third point says, third assumption is the transitivity and consistency of choice. What does it imply? It implies that consumer choices are assumed to be transitive and consistent. The transitivity of choice, what does this term transitivity means, or transitive it means? It means that if a consumer prefers A to B and B to C, he or she would prefer A to C. This is called transitivity. Okay, suppose there are 3 products and you have ranked them. You have understood that product A is better than product B, and product B is better than product C. Thus, if you compare between product A and C, then you will prefer product A. Understood? That means this is a kind of ranking. You are ranking product A, B and C. You are ranking them as 1, 2 and 3. So 1 is obviously better than 2 and 2 is obviously better than 3. So 1 will also be better than C. Even if you are not comparing them directly, this 2 is a common rank which you are comparing. In both of this, 1 to 2 you are comparing, again 2 to 3 you are comparing. So 2 is a common or product B is a common element in both the comparison. So even if you are not comparing A and C directly, but you will be able to say that A is better than C. Alright, this is called transitivity of choice concept. Then what is consistency? On the other hand, the consistency of choice means, that if a consumer prefers A to B in one period, he or she cannot prefer B to A in another period. Okay, suppose you are saying that you like to watch movies in multiplexes at, say, in the month of January, you said that I prefer to watch movies in multiplexes and not in the normal box offices, in the non-normal cinema halls like Payal and Vishal. You don't like to watch movies there. You are saying this is January, but in the month of February, you cannot say that you suddenly you started to prefer to watch movies in Pile or Vishal, in the normal cinema halls. You cannot change your preference. There has to be consistency. Understood? So transitivity means what? Even if you're not comparing two products at the same time, but there is a common element in two comparison, then the other two products can be compared. For example, A is preferred to B and B is better than C. That means A will be better or than C, or you will prefer A than C. That is transitivity. And consistency means that your preference of the product A to B should remain consistent. It should not change in another period, in another month, in another year, or whatever, in another day, another week. It cannot change. There has to be consistency of your choice. Understood? Then what is the fourth point? It implies non-satiety. What is it? It implies that a consumer is assumed to be non-satisfied. This is a very important point, okay? This assumption implies that a consumer is assumed to be non-satisfied. In other words, it is assumed that consumers does not reach the level of satisfaction by consuming a good and always prefers a large quantity of goods. So what does it assume? It assumes that consumer does not reach the level of satisfaction. In cardinal utility, we said that a consumer is satisfied and his marginal utility gets on diminishing and he is satisfied, we said. We did not say any other concept other than that. We just said that the consumer is satisfied. But in ordinal approach, it is said that the consumer will not reach the level of satisfaction by consuming a good. If I buy a packet of chips, you cannot say that I am satisfied. This satisfaction term is not used here. And does not reach the level of satisfaction by consuming a good. It is there, and always prefers a large quantity of goods. It is assumed here, okay? It is said that it's not that you will buy only single or two units of a product, but you will always prefer a large quantity of products, of any goods. Okay, so there are a lot of assumptions which you have to understand in ordinal approach. What are those? In the rationality approach is easy to understand. The consumer will try to maximize his level of satisfaction. He will try to maximize it. Okay, you cannot say that he is satisfied at this point. He will try to maximize. He will aim to maximize his total satisfaction within the given constraints of his income and by taking the prices of goods and service into consideration. He will try to maximize his level of satisfaction. Then we learned ordinal utility. What does it implies? It implies that you are, as a consumer, you are able to express your preferences for any goods or services. You should be able to express your preference level. Then we learned transitivity and consistency. Transitivity, these two terms has been explained by us. That is, transitivity, we have known that this is a thing in which if you are preferring one product to the second product, and second product you are preferring to the third product, then that first and third product can also be compared, and the first product is going to be better than the third product. This is transitivity. And consistency said that your expression of the choice should remain same. Your preferred product should remain same. You should not change your preferences in every period. Then we learn non-satiety. What we learned in that? We learned that a consumer cannot be said to be satisfied. He cannot be, it is there that the level of satisfaction will be varying, low level of satisfaction, higher level of satisfaction, but it will not reach a particular satisfied point by the consumer. He cannot be termed as a satisfied one by just consuming a product. And also it is assumed that normally consumer buys large quantity of goods. Then see this one, diminishing marginal rate of substitution. There in cardinal approach we learn diminishing marginal utility. Here we will learn diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Okay, this acts as an important concept in indifference curve analysis. This indifference curve will be formed by using this concept of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. So marginal rate of substitution implies the rate at which a consumer is willing to substitute one product or one good termed as X for another good, say Y, so that the total satisfaction remains the same. What does it imply? Let us read this line again. This marginal rate of substitution implies the rate at which a consumer is willing to substitute one product for another product. That means this is nothing but a rate, but a pace, but a frequency at which the consumer will be ready to prefer one product for over another product. He will be ready to substitute. He will be ready to buy one product by comparing it with another product. Okay, so that the satisfaction remains the same. The satisfaction that he was gaining from product Y should be same by buying product X, but he should be ready to substitute that product X with product Y. Okay, he will be ready to buy another product which will be of same quality, same feature, having same feature, and also his satisfaction should remain the same, but he should be willing, he should have that will to buy or substitute that product for another product which he was buying previously. Let us study the indifference curve. It will be better for us to understand. What is this indifference curve? Indifference curve is defined as a locus of points on the graph, each representing a different combination of two substitute goods, which yield the same utility or level of satisfaction to a consumer. This is what, you know, this is when you will see the slope of the indifference curve, you will be able to understand that this represents different combination of two substitutes. Two substitutable goods will be there. Their combination of buying one good and over the other, that will be represented in the indifference curve. That will give the same level of satisfaction to a consumer by buying that product, those products. Okay, when you are substituting one for the other, then the level of satisfaction will be same for the consumer. And the indifference curve, this will be in a graph format. This will represent the various combination of those two substitute goods. The combinations of goods will give equal satisfaction to a consumer. Okay, when if the consumer is buying combinedly both the products, that both the products will give equal level of satisfaction to a consumer. Therefore, a consumer is indifferent between any two combinations of two goods when it comes to making a choice between them. That means you should be ready to buy one for the other, but you can buy the other for the one also. That means although you are substituting X for Y, but you will be willing to substitute also Y for X. That means those two combinations, for the combinations, the consumer will be indifferent to that when it will come to making a choice between the two. When these combinations will be plotted on the graph, the resulting curve will be called an indifference curve. Okay, when all those combinations which are giving the equal level of satisfaction to the consumer, and the consumer is ready to substitute any of these goods, that means he will substitute one for the other, no issues in that, but the level of satisfaction will be same and he will be indifferent between the combinations. when he will be asked to make a choice, he will be indifferent between the combinations. And when these combinations will be plotted on the graph, the resulting curve will be called a indifference curve. This curve is also called an iso utility curve or equal utility curve. Okay, do not get scared if these terms are used and you're asked to write answers on this. Iso utility or equal utility, this also means the same. This is same as indifference curve. Let us learn the indifference curve through a schedule. So this is a schedule. Okay, we will use this schedule to plot the graph, and then we will see how the indifference curve will look like. This table depicts a consumer starts with 1 unit of good X. These are two products, good X and good Y. So the consumer starts with 1 unit of good X and 12 units of good Y. So he is buying 1 unit of good X and 12 units of good Y at a combination, at a particular combination. For gaining an additional unit of X, he or she sacrifices 4 units of good Y. Now he want to keep his level of satisfaction same. So what he will do is uh, he will substitute 4 units of good Y with 1 unit of good X. That means when previously he was buying 1 unit of good X, now he will buy 2 units, but in order to buy that extra unit of good X, he will compromise with good Y for 4 units. He will reduce the purchase of good Y to 8 units now. But this level of satisfaction is same. Okay. The kind of satisfaction he was receiving by buying 1 unit of good X and 12 unit of good Y is exactly same by the level of satisfaction he is gaining by buying 2 units of good X and 8 units of good Y. Okay, so for gaining an additional unit of X, he or she sacrifices 4 units of good Y so that the level of satisfaction remains the same. Similarly, we get the combinations of 3X, that means 3 units of good X plus 5 units of good Y. Now he is increasing good X and decreasing good Y, isn't it? He is doing that. This total will not be same. If you are thinking that this total of this number of units will be same, that will not be same, because this is talking about a satisfaction level. This is not talking about the total number of units. Okay, so what the consumer is doing, he or she is increasing the purchase of good X. At the same time, he is compromising with good Y, because they are substitute goods. You can substitute one for the other. So you are substituting good Y with good X and increasing the purchase of good X number of units and decreasing the number of units of good Y. That is how you got the following combinations. You are getting 3X and 5Y, then you're getting 4X and 3Y, and you're getting 5X and 2Y. These are different combinations that you got. The consumer satisfaction remains same whichever the combination of goods are. That means whatever be the combination of the goods, the satisfaction that the consumer is achieving is the exactly same. This schedule of combination can be shown graphically on indifference curve. The quantity of good X is measured on X axis and quantity of good Y will be shown on Y axis. Now we will plot these combinations in the graph by taking good X in the X axis and good Y in the Y axis. And see, let us see how the indifference curve will look like. See, this shows the indifference curve. In the above figure, the point B. Now see, observe this graph minutely, okay? In the X axis, you have plotted good X. These are the various combinations of good X, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on the Y axis, you have plotted various buying or purchase of number of units of good Y. These are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. According to your own convenience, you have taken the ordinance and you have plotted the different schedules of the good X and good Y that we are already discussing. The particular schedule has been plotted, and when you joined those points, this curve has occurred. Okay, if you're joining this point, this is not a straight line. Okay, this will not be a straight line. This should be a freehand graph, and this should start from the top, and it should go at the lower downward, right hand downward side in the graph. Okay, now you see there are 2 points which has been shown in this figure. One is point B and one is point A. In the figure, point B shown below and left of the indifference curve. Remember these points, whatever I'm saying, and listen to me very, very carefully, okay? This point, any point which is below and left of the indifference curve. This point B is below and left of the indifference curve or not? It is. So this point, these points, this any point which is lying below and left of the indifference curve would give less satisfaction. Okay, this is giving less satisfaction. If you talk about point B, then there will be a combination of product X and product Y, isn't it? There will be a combination of product S and product Y. So that combination will give less satisfaction. And the point A above the indifference curve, this point A, you see, follow my arrow on the screen. This point A, which is above and right side of the indifference curve, would be more preferred than the combinations. This will give some high level of satisfaction. Okay, this high or low level of satisfactions are used in ordinal utility approach. The term satisfied, not satisfied, those kind of terms are not used in indifference curve. I mean in ordinal approach. Unlike a cardinal approach, the terms like satisfied, not satisfied, those kind of terms are not used. Only the level of satisfaction are used here. This comparable level of satisfaction rather will be a better term to use. A description of consumers' preferences is represented on indifference map that consists of a set of indifference curves. Okay, now this is a single indifference curve in which we are saying that any point which is lying below and left of this indifference curve, that point would indicate that that it is giving less satisfaction to the consumer, and a point which will be above and right side of this indifference curve will definitely give more satisfaction, and that combination will be more preferred than the combinations in the indifference curve. Okay, this combination which is lying above this indifference curve will be more preferred than the combinations lying on the indifference curve. You should listen to me properly, okay? So this point B and A, I hopefully it is understandable to you. Now, if we have understood indifference curve, then we should move on to the understanding of indifference map. What is it? A description of consumers' preferences is represented on indifference map. Now, in indifference map, we will be able to see a description of consumers' preferences. That will consist of a set of indifference curves. There will be more than one indifference curves in indifference map. Okay, indifference map shows the indifference curves ranked in order of preferences of consumers. Now, when we are saying that there will be low satisfaction, high satisfaction, then there should be an indifference map where different satisfaction curve will be plotted. And then we will be able to say that this is an indifference map. This next figure will show a indifference map. This is indifference map.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, can you please repeat the indifference map?
Map?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's what I'm discussing now. Now see, from where this concept of indifference map is coming, when we talked about the indifference curve, we said that all the points which are lying on this indifference curve are giving you equal level of satisfaction. How this points has come? We have taken different combination of good X and good Y. Then we have plotted it in a graph, and then we have seen that this is giving a picture like this. This like freehand curve, if you're drawing, this is giving you a picture like this. At the same time, we are saying that any point which will lie below this indifference curve will give you lower level of satisfaction, and any point which will lie above this line, that will give you higher level of satisfaction. This we are saying. Now from this concept, the concept of indifference map would come. Now, when we are saying that high level of satisfaction and low level of satisfaction, then the single indifference curve is prevailing, then that would mean that there has to be a set of indifference curves and which will be plotted in the single graph, and then we can say that this is called an indifference map. Understood? Through this point B, through this point A, there has to be some set of indifference curve as well, that combinedly we can say that they are indifference map. You see that figure on your screen? This is nothing but your indifference map. Where you see this same good x and good y has been plotted, but there are set of indifference curves, and we can say that you see all the combinations on indifference curve IC1. This IC1 is one indifference curve, IC2 is one indifference curve, and IC3 is another indifference curve. All the combinations on these indifference curves give equal level of satisfaction. That means the points which are lying in the single indifference curves, those are giving equal level of satisfaction. It's not that all the points are giving equal level of satisfaction. It's not that. It is the points which are lying in the single indifference curves, those points are giving equal level of satisfaction. But this indifference curve IC3 will be more preferred than IC2, and IC2 will be more preferred than IC1. Thus, a higher indifference curve represents a higher level of satisfaction. Okay, I will take up this indifference map discussion tomorrow again. Okay, I hope it is understandable that there can be different indifference curves depicting different set of combinations, and the satisfaction that you are receiving should be equal on each of the indifference curves. It's not that all the satisfaction will be equal. It is on each of the indifference curves, that set of satisfaction should be equal. And obviously, you will satisfy the higher indifference curves than the lower ones. I will take up this again tomorrow. Okay, it's already 9:15, so I'll have to end up the discussion. Then we will discuss what is marginal utility of substitution. Then we will discuss the properties of indifference curves. These are very, very important topics. Okay, you should understand it. You should understand each and everything properly. You should understand each and everything properly. So we will study the properties of indifference curve tomorrow, then marginal rate of substitution also. Okay, this is a long topic. It will take two or 3 days. Okay, so that's it for today. Then see you again tomorrow. Then you can leave the meeting and join the next class. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye. Okay.